A Ukrainian FPV drone successfully took down a Russian helicopter in the Donetsk region. Robert Madzier-Brovdy, the commander of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, has reported that Ukraine destroyed a Russian Mi-8 helicopter in a coordinated effort by intelligence and the military's UAV pilots.
A Ukrainian drone pilot scans the battlefield through his goggles, hunting for targets among burning tanks and scattered infantry. Something catches his eye, a Russian Mi-8 helicopter hovering low, supporting the assault below. In most wars throughout history, aircraft owned the sky while ground forces could only watch. But in 2025, a $500 cracing drone is about to change that equation forever. What happens next demonstrates why modern warfare has been turned completely upside down, and why no vehicle on the battlefield, no matter how expensive or well-armored, is truly safe anymore. The Mi-8 helicopter appeared over the Donetsk battlefield with a specific mission: suppress Ukrainian FPV drone operators and provide fire support for the Russian tank assault happening below. These transport helicopters, worth approximately $10 million each, represent significant assets for the Russian military. They typically operate from safer distances, but this one made a critical error. It flew too close to the active combat zone. A Ukrainian FPV pilot, already engaged in hunting armored vehicles, spotted the helicopter through his first-person view goggles. The opportunity was too valuable to pass up. These moments are incredibly rare. Since the full-scale invasion began in February 2022, only 2 confirmed helicopter shootdowns by FPV drones have been recorded. The pilot had seconds to make his decision and adjust his approach angle. FPV drones are modified racing quadcopters, typically costing between $400 and $500 to build. They carry warheads ranging from RPG-7 rounds to RKG-3 anti-tank grenades, with modifications to the motors providing enough thrust to carry the additional weight. The pilot maneuvered his drone directly toward the helicopter's most vulnerable point, the fuel tank. The strike was surgical. The drone impacted the fuel reservoir, and flames erupted immediately. The Mi-8 began losing altitude fast. Through the video feed, you could see the Russian pilots attempting to maintain control as the aircraft descended. They appeared to be fighting the controls until the final moments, but physics had already decided the outcome. The burning helicopter spiraled downward, smoke trailing behind it. This single strike eliminated not just the aircraft, but also its crew and the tactical support it was providing to Russian ground forces. Russian soldiers who had counted on air support for suppression and potential evacuation suddenly realized they were completely exposed, and the helicopter's destruction became a turning point in the engagement. The technical achievement here cannot be overstated. Hitting a moving aerial target with a small drone requires exceptional piloting skills, precise timing, and an understanding of 3-dimensional intercept courses. The pilot had to account for the helicopter's movement, wind conditions, and the drone's flight characteristics while operating through a video feed with inevitable lag. One miscalculation would have meant missing entirely and losing the drone without effect. What makes this even more remarkable is the cost asymmetry. A weapon system worth $500 destroyed an asset worth $10 million, a 20,000 to 1 cost advantage. This ratio fundamentally challenges traditional military procurement thinking. Russia cannot replace helicopters at the rate Ukraine can produce or acquire FPV drones. The economic mathematics of this conflict increasingly favor the defender. But this helicopter wasn't flying alone. Below it, a full Russian armored column was pushing toward Ukrainian lines, confident in their numerical advantage and heavy armor. They had no idea their offensive was about to become a textbook example of how not to conduct modern combined arms assault. The Russian assault force moved through morning fog and artificial smoke, believing they had achieved tactical surprise. The column included multiple infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers, and tanks, a substantial commitment of mechanized forces for the Donetsk sector. They had added improvised anti-drone cages and armor to their vehicles, metal frameworks welded onto turrets and hulls. Russian commanders clearly understood the FPV threat. Ukrainian reconnaissance spotted them anyway. Thermal imaging cuts through fog and smoke effortlessly. As the column approached the nearest village, breaking into smaller tactical groups, Ukrainian drone teams were already launching waves of FPVs. The Russians had bought themselves perhaps 15 to 20 minutes of concealment, but that window closed fast. The first vehicles started burning within minutes of detection. Despite the anti-drone armor, the FPVs found weak points, tracks, engine compartments, ammunition storage areas. One IFV took a direct hit and erupted in flames while its companions scrambled for cover among village ruins. The added armor helped some vehicles survive initial strikes, but the drone operators simply sent more drones. When one hit disabled the mobility, a second strike finished the job. The Russian plan depended on speed and momentum. Get to the village, deploy infantry into defensive positions, establish a foothold for follow-on forces. But as vehicles started exploding, that plan disintegrated. Crews abandoned damaged vehicles and ran for cover. The column fragmented completely. Some vehicles tried hiding among trees, others attempted to reverse course, and several pushed forward hoping to reach the village before being hit. None of these tactics worked. A vehicle that hid in the tree line got struck trying to escape. Another APC fled down a road only to find its path blocked by a burning wreck from an earlier strike. The Ukrainian FPV operator hit its vulnerable rear section and it exploded instantly. The roadblock became a death trap. Vehicles couldn't advance or retreat. Within 2 hours, every vehicle in the column was either destroyed or immobilized. The last two APCs attempted a full retreat, turning around and racing back toward Russian lines. Ukrainian drones pursued them. One APC exploded after a precision hit on its ammunition store, blocking the road for the vehicle behind it. The second APC sat paralyzed while another wave of drones closed in. It never made it home. Russian infantry who survived the vehicle destructions scattered into village basements and rubble piles. They transitioned from offensive operations to survival mode in minutes. The Russians had advanced expecting air support and numerical superiority, only to watch their entire column systematically destroyed by weapons they could barely see or hear approaching. The Ukrainians didn't let up. They deployed drones equipped with munition-dropping capabilities specifically designed to reach enemies hiding underground or in covered positions. These drones fly overhead and release grenades or mortar rounds through openings, clearing basements and fortified positions without exposing Ukrainian infantry to return fire. The Russians were trapped, leaderless, and pinned down, but Ukrainian commanders saw an opportunity. If they moved fast enough, they could eliminate this force before Russian reinforcements arrived. The decision was made: send in the tanks. 2 Ukrainian T-72 tanks rolled directly into the contested village. This was an aggressive, high-risk maneuver. Russian forces, though scattered and disorganized, still had anti-tank weapons and FPV drones of their own. But Ukrainian intelligence assessed that the enemy's heavier weapons had been destroyed with their vehicles, leaving mostly small arms and whatever portable AT systems individual soldiers carried. The T-72s moved into firing positions and began systematically demolishing buildings where Russian soldiers had taken shelter. The 125mm main guns fired high-explosive rounds at point-blank range. Houses that had provided cover were reduced to collapsing walls and debris clouds. The concussive force alone would incapacitate anyone inside or nearby. The tanks worked methodically, identifying positions and neutralizing them one by one. A Russian FPV drone managed to strike one of the Ukrainian tanks directly on the hull. The impact was visible through the explosion and smoke, but the T-72's armor held. This illustrates an important reality about tank design. They're built to withstand significant punishment. While lighter vehicles like BMPs or BTRs can be catastrophically damaged by FPV strikes, main battle tanks often survive initial hits, especially on frontal or side armor rather than top attack angles. The tank crew didn't panic or retreat. They continued their mission, knowing their armor had protected them. This is the advantage of using actual tanks for close assault rather than lighter vehicles. They can absorb punishment while delivering devastating firepower. The psychological effect on Russian defenders was immediate. They realized even their drones couldn't stop the Ukrainian advance. The timing proved crucial. Ukrainian commanders had calculated that Russian reinforcements would arrive within a specific window. The tanks needed to complete their clearing operation and withdraw before enemy quick reaction forces or additional drone teams could deploy. The operation succeeded with minutes to spare. After confirming the destruction of enemy positions, both T-72s reversed course and withdrew at speed, leaving the devastated village behind. One Ukrainian vehicle crew experienced an almost miraculous moment during related operations. A Russian FPV drone crashed directly into their windshield and failed to detonate. The warhead's fusing mechanism malfunctioned, leaving the crew staring at an unexploded munition embedded in broken glass. They survived purely through equipment failure on the Russian side. These moments of chance happen constantly in combat, but you cannot plan for them or rely on them. FPV drones costing less than $500 have become decisive weapons in this conflict specifically because of their affordability and tactical versatility. Ukraine can produce or acquire thousands of these systems for the cost of a single tank. This economic reality shapes every tactical decision on both sides. Russian armored formations cannot advance freely when every vehicle risks destruction by weapons worth a fraction of their value. Expensive, sophisticated weapons platforms remain important, but they operate in an environment where cheap, expendable systems can achieve devastating effects. Air superiority no longer guarantees safety. Armor no longer guarantees survival. Even operating from rear areas doesn't guarantee security when long-range precision systems can reach hundreds of kilometers. The era of expensive platforms operating with relative impunity has ended. What replaces it will be messier, more distributed, and far more dependent on mass-produced systems and highly trained operators. So, what do you think about this incredible shift in modern warfare? Do you believe FPV drones have permanently changed how battles are fought? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button if you found this breakdown valuable. Subscribe to our channel for more such in-depth military coverage. Until next time, stay informed.